I've just pulled up here and I decided to have a seat by the banks of the River Line. It's a very easy flowing River Line just now. There's not been that much rain, as you know, recently in any parts of Scotland, but yeah, so I pulled in and I always said I would come and sit by the banks of the Line because it's such a wonderful, it's one of the longest glens in Scotland. Well, not one of them, it is the longest glen. Glen Affric and stuff are pretty long, but this takes stretches for many, many miles to the west. And I've walked most of it from, well, I walked it from Vidgevorky to the head of Glen Line. You know, I've mentioned that before in previous vlogs, so I won't repeat that. But it's just nice by the river. Yeah, I was talking earlier on when I was in Fortingall. That was my broker, incidentally, that called to say that I think I mentioned to offload some of the pound purchases. So I have some empathy with Up and Down, which she said that she just bought in at the wrong time. We should talk about the oil and stuff, you know, the crude oil that she purchased. But as I say, I've got big suspicions that the money didn't entirely go on investments. I think much of it was put towards the Vatican. But yeah, it's the time I was in Berlin. I'm just trying to work out where she was at the time. But anyway, I'd flown over to Berlin to meet her. We stayed at a very grand place. I won't mention the name, but so we were at dinner. When she popped the question, she says, I'm in a bit of financial bother. This is well before the 2008 crash, because I can remember she asked me for, she asked me for German marks. She actually asked me for various currencies, including guilder marks. She wanted French francs, and she also wanted Swiss francs and Italian lira. And I said, well, I don't understand why you want that, because they no longer exist. Didn't you know? As of January, so it must have been, I think it was 2002. As of January, we're now in the euro. Well, most of the European countries had joined the euro. I said, if you need any money at all, it'll have to be in dollars or pounds. I'm not doing any further transfers into euros and stuff, you know, because of the commission and stuff that's involved with the bank transfers. So what eventually happened is there's a lovely little robin up there. She agreed, hey boo boo, she agreed to £250,000 to be transferred into her account. And I mean, I gave this money willingly because I obviously, as I said maybe previously, I trusted her 100%. She's a long-standing friend, very good friend, more than a friend actually. We're very close, not just close on this earth, but close in the previous life and the times still to come, and the life thereafter, you know. We're bonded, divinely bonded. So that aside, I said to her, I said, what exactly is going on in your life that you need so much money? But actually, I think I've got that wrong. When I consider it was not until 2020 that she got the £250,000, that's right. It was the fact that she was waiting on the maturity of one of her portfolios, that she asked for some sort of advance and it would be given back to me. Yes, that's correct. I know I was mixed up a little there, but yeah, so that was in a time when the euro had come into play, and I agreed that we would get some funds together. That's correct. It was £47,000 that she required. So I transferred the £47,000, I think 7,000 if it was in dollars, and everything was fine. Everything was very good. And then a couple of years later, I think it was 2004, sort of November time, and I said, would there be any chance of you cashing in the portfolio and returning some of the funds that you owe? And she got very, very upset with me, and she didn't speak for many years afterwards. And but like that infinity symbol when we were back and forth, she came back to me, but nothing was mentioned about the 47,000. And so I do stand to be corrected. The 47,000 was part of the £250,000 that I gave her in 2020. But all in all, it's around about £256,000, and I haven't seen a penny of it back. And the property we're going to buy just along the road is, I know it breaks her heart that we nearly had that property, but as I say, I'm convinced she gave the money to the Vatican and to the property that we could have had, and a garden full of apples and lovely flowers and butterflies fleeting around the windows even in September, never materialised. She was very fond of the sheep, and because she was so interested in horses, we had stables. There were stables at the rear of the property, and I know that she wanted to have a couple of horses and 4 children, but nothing happened. So in a way, we would have spent many happy days sitting here by the Glen River, just a short distance away, and many summer evenings would have been spent amongst the hoverflies and the midges and the other insects. And I know that she's very keen on watching the salmon jump in the spring, and she's very fond of eating trout, although she does prefer salmon, smoked salmon especially. And 1968 Chablis seems to be her favourite wine, although she does consume larger quantities of Chardonnay as well. Yes, I'm very disheartened in the fact that we had such a promising life together, and through her own choices she decided that she was going to join the convent and leave me because she was falling in love with me. And but despite everything, there's always a glimmer of hope. The big thick rope that used to keep us bonded together has faded into a very, very tiny, thin piece of cotton thread. So there's not much left in the connection, although the spiritual connection is still very strong, and the love for each other is still very strong. That's not in question. But the fact that we never raised a family, never got married, never raised a family, never bought the property that we viewed earlier, never had fun and to the levels that we should have. I still see her driving that open-top Mercedes with a chiffon scarf and sunglasses and her beautiful hair, flashing back and forward in the wind. Although her hair, as I recall, her hair was never untidy. She was always immaculate. In fact, truth be told, she didn't have to do much on a daily basis to keep herself pretty and beautiful. She just woke up and she was beautiful immediately. Her hair was always perfect, and her smile was always divine. She had the most beautiful teeth as well. When she smiled, it was like white marble, polished marble, gleaming from her mouth. I've been very fond of Up and Down for most of my life, and it's quite heartbreaking that we've descended into silence and we've broken away. It's truly heartbreaking for me because I think the fact that I lived so much in hope and surety with my faith that we'd be one day united once again in our spiritual path. And just a few months ago that did occur after a break of almost a decade. We did see each other very briefly not so long ago, back in the days when COVID was across the land and everybody was locked up in their houses, but we still managed to find each other even in these circumstances. And due to my inability to express myself as clear as I should have that day, she went amiss, and she didn't have any of my contact details because I forgot to hand it over, or was reluctant to hand it over, in case she thought that it was a reminder from me that there was still an outstanding £256,713 and 63 pence. So that's why I didn't give her the number or my address at that time. But she knew briefly, she knew roughly where I was. But she didn't take any opportunity of any time to contact me, even when she knew I had some difficulties in my life, and there's times of both of us having to deal with our own losses and bereavements and stuff like that. And it was a time we could have supported each other much better and perhaps moved on to a much more joyous, way of than was occurring this past 16 weeks. But as I say, I think the pressure of losing her entire fortune has caused some issues with her, and she no longer has a piano to play. I think it was a Steiner. It was made in Germany, I think. And she could play, she could sing, and as I said, she can very good with embroidery. And she was fantastic company. I used to say to her, you're such fun, even without a glass of Chablis or even a glass of champagne that she used to sometimes treat herself with when times were much more fortunate for her. I think we both leave a legacy of sadness for one another now. I think the departure will be long lasting, and we'll both always be haunted by our absences, what could have been that did not materialise. Of course, one could say that if it was written in destiny, it would have already occurred. But as I say, many times when we're given free choice, we sometimes play with our own destiny, and we allow the correct path to be ignored for something different. I always feel that she felt that the grass was greener on the other side and she would do much better without me. So as it transpires, she is in free fall, in downfall, and I worry for her so much. I don't think anymore she has the strength and ability, or the wisdom or intuition to tackle what has besieged her. And I think that she's so scared to reach out to me, because every single day that she wants to reach out, she feels that I'm going to remind her of the £256,713.63, which doesn't account for any interest that's been added, or the £4,000 it cost me to transfer the money in the first place from the UK to a bank in Berlin, the Bundesbank. I can still remember the account number. There's many a day that we would have enjoyed just bobbling around in the small handcrafted rowing boat that I'd constructed as a surprise for her when she returned, that we could have many May evenings bobbing about in the water in the lengthening sunlight of the late spring evenings. Of course, we did have many times that we enjoyed ourselves, here, there and everywhere. And it's the memories that keep us bonded. There should have been much more memories. There should have been so much that we could have shared and enjoyed, and I think we both know that the legacy of our separation for so long, that's an unnecessary separation for so long throughout our lives, has caused such devastation and tragedy for both of us. Yes, she's certainly seen a lot of Europe in the convents that she's been, working in and staying in and spreading the gospel. But at the end of the day, it was a huge sacrifice to make just because she was falling in love.